All right, so that was about 5-7 minutes, so we'll allow the opponent side
Okay.
of the conversation 5-7 minutes to discuss why you oppose
Sure.
this measure.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate this, and during the Measure S campaign, I was glad that the jail staff invited me to tour the jail. It certainly was an educational thing, and I certainly was very much impressed with a lot of the good things that are going on with the staff trying to deal with these populations with the resources that they have. We started the tour with the day reporting facility, which is a facility for people who've already been sentenced that can complete their terms while also contributing back to the community and reintegrating with the community. And that's an excellent program, and I'm sure it doesn't cost anywhere close to the cost of incarcerating an individual in the community. I came at this originally from a finance background. I've been an accountant, and in terms of looking at the numbers, there was a lot there that really did not make sense to me. We're talking about $210,000 per bed, which at 44,000 square feet comes out to $858 per square foot. Now we have a situation where the average house in Siskiyou County is about $120 per square foot. Of course, you're not locking up inmates in your house. So there's still something there that really just doesn't make sense as far as putting the numbers together. And I know that if I was in either these people's shoes and I was going into this jail every day and dealing with the kinds of problems and the kinds of situations, I'd probably feel exactly the same. What can we do to make sure that people are safe and people are protected from some of the people that are in their jail who, as Jeff said, truly do belong in that jail. But looking at it as a taxpayer and looking at it as a citizen, I have to ask some questions that have a little bit of a different perspective and a little bit of a different context of it, because as with so many programs in Siskiyou County, what we find out is that the state of California, in their bureaucratic wisdom, is driving a lot of things and is driving grant requirements and is driving decisions that maybe if we sat down as a community, we might make those same kinds of decisions. They're dangling some funds out of here, and there's been processes and grant applications and I'm sure many hours of mulling over arcane rules and regulations to come up with the attempts to get the funding for the jail. Yet what we're ending up with in a county that has essentially a flat population or a declining population, we're looking to go from 107 to 180, and in fact the site preparation and the ultimate architectural plans goes to 300. So that's a big investment in facilities and infrastructure. We're talking about this phase being $37 million, and there's different ways to slice it, but we're looking at a county budget that I believe is around $135 million. So it's it's kind of like if you make $70,000 a year and your kid wants an $18,000 car, you might say no to that. And my other problem with it was the financing mechanisms. They were talking about the money coming from the state as a grant originally. In fact, it's a financing mechanism known as lease revenue bond financing, and that is typically used by governments to finance airports. So you build an airport in your town, someone comes, they land a plane, they pay you, you have revenue. But this situation is one where the Department of Corrections pays the Department of Public Works the amount of money to pay off the bond. So none of this is really revenue, it's just various bureaucrats taking our tax dollars and tossing them at each other, and the actual amount that gets spent even on construction is very much diminished because all of this overhead and all of this financing costs, and there's great profits for Wall Street. So when you put this into a context, where are we in Siskiyou County? We've got 44,000 people, 30-something million people in California. We're a very small piece of the puzzle. And how did we get here? We got here in the state of California from going from about 20,000 state prison inmates in 1970 to when at its peak, it was 163,000 prison inmates in 2011. Now that's a huge, huge increase, and it was a desire to be tough on crime, and it was, as far as the state is concerned, a big amount of people who were in there for drug addiction, drug sales, that kind of a thing. We know our sheriff here has lately spent, I think the helicopter contract alone is over $100,000 since the TNU passed. I don't think this is necessarily a pot issue, but certainly if we've got a 300-person jail, there's going to be a lot of pot people in there unless the laws change at the state level. So I think that's been a lot of resistance to do this, because we've seen that this is the kind of people that are exactly the ones that the statewide trends are saying, hey, we're going to legalize this. We're going to take these people who are 80 years old, they've got a 30-year sentence on the state level. So all of that is the larger context that may or may not apply to our jail population here. We do know that I believe something like 80% of the people that are in this present jail have not actually been sentenced for a crime yet. They cannot afford bail. Maybe there are people who do need to be incarcerated. That's true. But I think that we also have a problem here in Siskiyou County with hard drugs such as meth and heroin. We have a problem with people who are stealing things, and we have to focus on really effectively intervening in those kinds of things. Ray Hopp, in his recent YouTube video, said that 92% of the people in this jail were on psychotropic drugs. And I don't know if that's true or not. That seems almost a little bit horrific to think that 92% of those people are being warehoused in this facility and drugged. And again, a certain proportion of those, that's probably an appropriate thing to do with them. But if we can somehow take this $37 million and hire, whether they're social workers or counselors, or have educational programs, have interventions when people first get involved in the criminal justice system to keep them from going to that next level, then I think that's going to be great. It also comes into play the whole economy of Siskiyou County, and the fact that a lot of our leadership has been waiting around for the logging jobs to come back. I mean, it's been 20, 30 years. They're still waiting. They're still waiting, and it's not coming back. So we need to really take a good look at some infrastructure improvements and education improvements that leverage the real resources of our county, such as our natural environment. And we're able to do things by being connected to the rest of the world now. That as a rural county 20 or 30 years ago, we had to cut down trees. That was how you made a living. So again, I really want to let everyone know that this is a complex issue, and it's not something where, even though I might look at it as a bean county and say this is a preposterous amount of money, there is a problem here, and there are people who are sincerely trying to solve this, and we have to look at this in context as a criminal justice system and bring in more views and more expertise than just the idea that we're going to keep building bigger and bigger and bigger, and every time we fill it, we'll make it bigger, because we're going to go broke that way. We're not going to solve our basic problems. And so that's kind of my speech to the citizens of Siskiyou County on this issue.
Thank you.